Hey, what is going on, you guys? It is Mr. No Sleep here from Old School RuneScape, and welcome to a brand new video for you all today. So today we have a very special 30-hour video for you all, and this is 30 hours of killing Cerberus. The reason that I say that this 30-hour is special is because that Cerberus can only be killed when you have a Hellhound Slayer task, and to be able to get pretty much whatever Slayer task you want, you have to have a decent amount of Slayer points. And as you can see here in the beginning of the video, I was trying to get a Hellhound task, and what I wanted to do originally was do Wilderness Slayer for 30 hours, which I ended up doing, and I got around 2,200 points from that video, and all those points I was going to use for 30 hours of Cerberus, and unfortunately I realized that it took about 500 Slayer points just to get my first Hellhound task. And now I have been told that using Duradel for a Slayer Master to receive Hellhound tasks is much better than Steve or Neve, but I'm not too sure if that's true. I could have just had bad RNG, so all in all it took about 60 hours of Wilderness Slayer and getting about 4,200 Slayer points total to attempt 30 hours of Cerberus, or at least continue doing it. So that is why that this video has taken so long to upload. Although that this is just a 30-hour loot video of Cerberus, it did take about 60 hours of Wilderness Slayer just to be able to do this. And the real question is, was that worth doing, and how much money did we make from Cerb? So let's get into the drops. First things first, the gear that I was using was max strength, everything included. I had a spectral for when the ghosts came out, as well as a defender switch. And for my spec wep, I was going with a Bando's Godsword since I didn't have a crystal halberd and I couldn't afford a dragon warhammer. And as you can see, the first drop of the video was a Picayson crystal at KC 1383, which I actually think was hour 2 into the video, so we did get a first drop really early on. And looking at the 3 crystals that Cerberus drops, you have an Eternal, which is at 3.1 mil, Picayson, which is at 85k, and Primordial, which is at 19.6 mil. But you guys know the RNG is non-existent on this account, so of course the second crystal that we received at 1431 KC was another peg, and to make matters worse, just about 7 kills later, what do you know, another peg. So 3 peg crystals just in about 2 to 3 hours of Cerberus at this time. Another way of looking at that is, if those peg crystals would have been Primordial, I would have made about 60 mil in 3 hours of the first 30 hour of Cerberus that I've ever attempted, so that would have pretty much blown all the other 30-hour videos out of the water as it goes for profit, but unfortunately that did not happen, and we just got pegs. So at this point in the video, we were trying to get another Hellhound task, and unfortunately I think this time around it took about 1,000 Slayer points just to get the next one. This was either the second or the third Hellhound task. I think it was the second, because I think I switched to Duradel for the next 2. The reason that I had a Slayer cape in my inventory was because when you have a Hellhound task or any Slayer task and you use the Slayer cape perk, which is basically when you have it equipped or in your inventory and you try to get a new task from your Slayer Master, you have a chance at getting the same task that you just got done with. That should actually work with a max cape too, but I think I was using a fire max cape for this video. But yeah, unfortunately it did not work with any Hellhound tasks that we did receive, just a bunch of random tasks. And finally though, we did get the Hellhound task eventually, and we did get about 149 of them, so not too bad. And I believe I didn't mention this before, but there's also another drop from a Cerberus called a Smoldering Stone, and after hitting 1500 KC throughout this video, I actually managed to get one. And the price currently sits at 1.2 mil, so not too bad. It's definitely kind of in the middle between getting an Eternal and something better than a Picayson, so... And I guess the RNG just continued, because shortly after hitting 1600, we also got our second Smoldering Stone at 1609 KC. Now at this point, there was still no Primordial, so that's kind of why there was a sad face there. I don't know, I guess I was hitting every single drop other than the Prim, and obviously 3 pegs and 2 Smoldering Stones. Not looking too great, so at this point, you know, I was kind of getting demotivated, because not only were the drops not that lucky, but just getting the Hellhound task was just frustrating enough. So yeah, 3 Hellhound tasks and 2,000 Slayer points, and at this point, I think I had completely ran out of Slayer points. I had finished all of my tasks for the day, so this was when I just took about 3 days to go back to Wilderness Slayer and stock up on, like you see there, another 2,000 points. And luckily for me this time, it only took about 4 skips to get Hellhound, so not a lot of points were used there. And I think at this point in the video as well, I was kind of saying to myself that maybe I should start using a Bracelet of Slaughter, which essentially is a Slayer bracelet that has the chance to extend your Slayer task and make it last longer. And making these Hellhound tasks last longer is really important because it saves you from having to get even more tasks in the end, so you just save more points. And this was one of those hours that someone wanted to lend me a Twisted Bow and max gear, and of course, knowing Mr. No Sleep, I died with it. But I will say, using a Twisted Bow for the very first time on this account, especially having someone trust me with 1.2 bill for absolutely no reason was just so awesome. So big shout out to this guy for that. But yeah, Twisted Bow at Cerberus is like the best in slot weapon, no doubt about it. Using Vengeance and just having a one-way switch as well as just hitting constant 60s and 70s, I mean, it's just insane. But anyways, getting back to the drops here at KC 1696, as you can see here, we got a lovely Eternal Crystal, 3.3 mil, something better than a Smoldering Stone and much better than a Pegasus, so it's nice to see. And we did eventually hit 1700 KC as well, and just right after that, 66 kills later, we did see a second Eternal, 3.3 mil once again. So my optimism was getting a little bit stronger at this point in time until I saw a 67 Nature Rune drop at KC 1800. Definitely has to be uncommon. I don't think I've ever seen that from Cerberus before. Odd drop tables, but yeah, we did manage to finish our third or fourth task so far at this point. And I believe at this point is when I decided to switch to Duradel rather than stick with Steve for Slayer just to get the Hellhound task. And I had like 1800 Slayer points, but I just didn't want to take the risk of using over 1000 and not seeing another task. So I did switch to him, and I did get it pretty early on. I think it took about 400 points or less, so not too bad. And throughout this video, I think I made it pretty obvious that I was just going for Primordial Crystal this whole time, trying to maximize my profit, but it seems like we were just getting every other item but that. Dragonstone followed by a Dragon Med Helm, and then of course followed by 100 Silver Ore. So I don't know where my RNG was throughout this video, but it definitely was not existent with Primordials. I just don't understand how my account is so glitched. Well, I guess unlucky would be the better word, not glitched. But yeah, at this point I had enough Slayer points to finish off the video, so I did decide to use 1000 and get a black Slayer helmet. I've never colored a Slayer helmet before, and black is my favorite color or shade or whatever you want to say. So it felt nice to color a Slayer helmet for the first time, and 700 Cerberus kills later into this video, we were seeing nothing but Dragonstones, Pegasons, Smoldering Stones, Eternals, pretty much anything but a Primordial. And we already got the pet a long time ago, so there really wasn't the hype of that at all. And of course I already had Jar of Souls back in the day as well, so I've already seen a lot of the drops, and Primordial is one of those drops that I just really didn't see at all. But looking at the Cerberus tab now, after 30 hours of killing it, and I think this was over 775 KC, coming out to be 534k Slayer XP just in about 30 hours time, which is not terrible. And the tab, regardless of not getting Primordials throughout this whole entire 30 hour, which really did surprise me. I mean, I got 3 Pegasons, 2 Eternals, and 2 Smoldering Stones, and 0 Primordials. So had we gotten a Prim, I think this had a lot of potential. I think that Cerberus has been very profitable since release, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. So that being said, let's go ahead and see the price check, see how much money we made from doing Cerberus for 30 hours. The overall loot from everything besides the crystals and the rares came out to be 17.65 mil. So not too bad. Looking at it just from, you know, in the perspective of getting no rares, that's pretty average money per hour. Not 1 mil an hour, but definitely over 500k an hour, so that's nice. And the overall crystals and rares came out to be another 9.5 mil. So if you were to add those two numbers together and see the overall price check, you get 17.6 mil. Those are just the normal drops combined with the 9.5 mil that you get from all the rares, and you walk away with about 27.1 mil from Cerberus. And we did end up selling all the loot, and we ended up walking away with about 28 mil. So what do you guys think? 28 mil GP and 30 hours of killing Cerberus. If you deduct the cost of supplies, you're probably walking away with about 25 mil GP. So not exactly 1 mil an hour, and of course we did not manage to get Primordials. Had we gotten those, the profit would have skyrocketed, and it did have the potential to be the most profitable 30-hour video yet. But maybe next time. Regardless of all that, I want to say thank you guys very much for watching the video, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed doing it. I should have 30 hours of Rune Dragons uploaded tomorrow, so I'll see you then. And until then, Mr. No Sleep, out.